now. This is one of those that you need to kind of share prematurely because this is going to be fire. It's going to be a little deep because y'all know how I do, but it's going to have a lot of healing in this. So it's going to be fire. Y'all want to share this now. Y'all specifically want to share this with people who you think will benefit off of healing their family. I'm embarking into a new series called Healthy Family Dynamics. And I want to warn you now, it might be a little triggering. I might pull up some stuff in you that you might need to work through, might need to pray through, might need to talk to a therapist about, might need to book a consultation with me even to really make it through. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this series. I want to take my time because of the value and importance of family. And this is why I made it into a series versus trying to get all this knowledge and information into one presentation. It would be a lot. I ain't going to hold you. But I am excited for the series because it's necessary, right? So please kick it with your boy on Friday nights as we embark on healthy family dynamics. You can get your family involved. That'll be great. You can share it with those who need it. That'll be great. We're going to talk about being a husband, being a wife, being a parent, and even to some degree being siblings. Just the whole family dynamics. We're going to deal with them all. As a matter of fact, if you want, you could send me questions and stuff like that can make it more relatable to you. I would definitely take those into consideration during the series. You could DM me on Facebook or IG. You could text me, whatever the case is. But this is going to be important information, and I think it's going to be a blessing to the community. So with that said, we're going to talk about family dynamics. Hello, welcome to the Friday Experience. My name is Pastor Lawrence Souffrant. I will be your host for the day. Listen, if you haven't already, here's what I want you to do. I want you to text LSMin to 24251 so that you can join our text group. Also, if you feel led to donate to the ministry, you can go to www.lawrencesouffrant.com/ministry. Please put the /ministry, or you can cash at me, $LAWSOU. You can cash at me in that way. I have other means of giving, so just keep me posted if those don't work for you and you still feel led to give. I would love to give you those avenues: Zelle, Venmo, etc., etc. Happy Friday to those of you who don't keep the Sabbath. Happy Sabbath to those of you that do. I am on a little early today. So if you're watching the replay and you felt like you've missed it, this is why you got to join the text group. The text group will let you know when these things are happening so that you can be aware and you can prepare accordingly. Today we're going to talk about uncles and aunties. I don't expect this to be long. Because it's not a whole lot that needs to be discussed. What's going on, Sheila? Glad you was able to make it. It's not a whole lot that needs to be discussed as it pertains to uncles and aunties, but I did want to address it. Most of this I'll probably deal with when I start talking about sibling relationships, because uncles and aunties are siblings of the parents. But I want to deal with this even just beyond the parental scope. Because that is, in fact, one avenue, absolutely, in which uncles and aunties are relevant, but also just in terms of the family structure as a whole. And so let's first deal with what uncles and aunties are, right? So if I have a child, well, I have children, right? So I have children and I have brothers and sisters. My brothers will be the children's uncles, right? Very simple. My sister would be the children's auntie. Now, I also have brothers and sisters that are not blood relatives. Blood couldn't make us any closer. And so they also occupy the space of being an uncle and an auntie to my children. But what does that mean? What exactly is that role? Because if it's only limited to the relationship to the parents, then really we're just dealing with the sibling aspect. And so when I talk about siblings, when I talk about brothers and sisters getting together, we can incorporate that with the uncle and auntie role outside of the children, right? And so I'll deal with that when we talk about siblings. But because you are an uncle and an auntie after kids, I want to emphasize more of what that role looks like when it pertains to children and when it pertains to the family in that dynamic. And so, uncles and aunties are nothing more than extensions of the parents. Okay, I want to say that again. Uncles and aunties are nothing more than extensions of the parent, meaning the role of the uncle and the auntie is to reinforce the principles, the morals, the standards that the parents uphold. That is the role of the uncle and auntie. And so, if the child has both parents in their lives, it doesn't mean that the uncle and auntie need to be lax or don't need to be involved. They're still very, very important because children go through these developmental stages, right? And as they are growing and going through these developmental stages, there comes a point in which the word of the parent does not hold as much authority as it used to. And so when a child is, about under 10 years old, typically speaking, depending on the dynamics, when a child is under 10, then what the parent said is really that's how it is. It's cut and dry. There's not much argument. There's not much rebuttal. It's very simple. But when the child begins to get into a space where they want to articulate their own thoughts and their own ideas. And that typically happens after the age of 10. We're seeing it happen sooner because of the internet. And so, through all the exposure that's happening online, children are getting fed ideas much more quickly. But typically, after the age of 10, this is now when children begin to challenge some of the ideals, the principles, the standards that the parents were trying to instill in them. And this is now where the role of the uncle and the auntie comes into play because the uncle and the auntie, though they are family, they are outside forces that help reinforce what the parents are saying. And so, your job as an uncle or an auntie, I want to be clear now, your job is to not help the children do things behind the parents' back. Okay. Yes, you want to be the cool uncle, you want to be the cool auntie, or you want them to feel comfortable talking to you. You want to respect the privacy of the child 100%. And maybe that needed to be said because children do deserve a certain level of privacy as they begin to develop and they start to experience life a certain way. And sometimes parents can't handle the raw truth of what their children is going through. And what I mean by that is there are times where parents will overreact when they hear some of the things that their children is starting to experience. When their child gets their first kiss, right? Or when their child begins to get a little sexually active, right? As parents, it might drive us insane. I'm thinking about my kids and them starting to get into that stage. And I'll be honest, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Most parents are not ready. But the child will have questions. The child will have concern. And sometimes when they bring these things to their parents is focusing more on the punishment and the discipline of the child instead of the actual development of the child. And I'm not saying that the child does something wrong, that they shouldn't be disciplined. What I am saying is there is a time and a space for everything. And children will leave things out as it pertains to their parents. They will leave certain information out to avoid punishment. Right? Children will keep certain secrets from their parents to avoid punishment. They know that their parent isn't going to tolerate it. They know that their parent's going to have to handle it. And so, with the child kind of having those preconceived ideas, really they were reinforced because of the development stages. While they were younger, yeah, when the child did something wrong, there was some consequences that came with that. So, as they get older, they begin to kind of explore the world. And in order to avoid certain consequences with the parents, they will leave out certain secrets, certain details of what they're doing while they're in school or while they're at a friend's house or when they went to the mall or when they went to the movies, right? They leave out certain details. And that doesn't mean that you were a bad parent. That's not what it means. Sometimes parents feel guilty when their child won't come to them with certain information. But the reality is, you can be the best of parents. The fact that you are the mother or the father, it creates a level of tension and nervousness, typically speaking, All relationships are different. Hallelujah. But typically speaking, it creates a level of tension between the child and the parent. And so they leave certain information out intentionally to avoid a level of consequence. Now, in knowing that, we now understand the role of the uncle and the aunties because they kind of play the middleman. They play the reinforcements. They play the negotiators. They play the managers, right? And so, as an uncle or an auntie, you want to be close enough to your nieces and nephews so that they can come talk to you about some of the things that they may not feel comfortable talking to the parent. And so, in order to be effective in that way, you want to be able to first be able to listen. You want to be able to listen to the child as they're speaking. You want to be careful to respond in a way that the parents would respond, because that would defeat the whole purpose, right? If you act how the parents act, then they're going to feel like they can't come to you. So you want to be able to listen. You want to be able to listen objectively. You want to be able to listen in a supportive manner. You want to hear them. And because you've already had a relationship with them, you would already kind of know the way that you should speak to your niece or your nephew. See, you can't be this type of uncle and auntie if you haven't really been involved in your nieces and nephews' life. So there has to be an established relationship before they get into that development stage where they now need your input, where your suggestions would be of benefit to them. You have to start cultivating that relationship as soon as possible so that you can be a listening ear in the times where the child cannot go to the parent. And so while I'm dealing with cultivating relationships, I want to be honest and clear because the reality is some uncles and aunties don't have relationships with their nieces and nephews because there are some issues between the uncle and auntie and the parents, meaning some of the sibling rivalries have not been worked out, or some of the misunderstandings have not yet been ironed out. And so, and if we keep it 100, some of you uncles and aunties aren't safe people. Can I be honest? Can I just be honest tonight? I want to be honest with you because I don't want you to feel like you have rights as an uncle or auntie. You have privilege as an uncle and auntie. And those privileges can be revoked if you are unsafe and unhealthy. And so I'm not talking about you just have a different perspective in how life works. As adults, we're all expected to think for ourselves and live in the freedom that we have been given by the Creator. So it's not about having different perspectives. I'm talking about the uncle and aunties that are toxic, that are abusive, that talk about things to the kids have no business hearing, that are touchy feely, that use language that might not really be best for children to hear. I'm talking about those uncles and aunties that can be of detriment if they become an influence to the child. Yeah, yeah. So if you don't have your stuff together, then there might be a reason why you don't have a relationship with your nieces and your nephew. You don't have any rights as an uncle and an auntie, but you do have privilege. And those privileges can be revoked if you are unsafe. And so when you're dealing with other people's children, you want to deal with them with care, with better care than your own kids. And I say better care than your own kids because some of you ain't take. All right, I'm gonna leave that alone. Because I'm about to get on something. I'm gonna leave that alone just a little bit, right? But you want to consider that these children have parents that will kill and die for them. So when you're dealing with other people's children, you want to be sensitive and careful about how you're dealing with them. So even though something might not be a big deal to you, if it is a big deal to the parent, then it's your job to reinforce the standards, the structures, the principles, the morals that the parent is trying to instill in that child. Because it's not until the child is an adult that is when the child can make whatever decisions they want. But as long as the child is still under the parent's roof, they don't need the uncles and the aunties making the parent sound crazy. And let me tell you this. You can be supportive to that child without reinforcing the negative views they have of their parent. Can I say that again? Do I need to say that again? So some of y'all need to get this. You can have a positive relationship with your niece and nephew without reinforcing the negative perspective they have of their parents. Because I'm gonna tell you something, if you don't have any teenagers, then you probably won't understand. But when they get to a certain age, these children think that their parents are against any type of fun that they're trying to have. These children think that their parents don't like them, or that their parents are just mean, or that their parents are just strict, because they have now desires and wills and goals. And I'm not one of those parents who think just because a child feels like doing something, they should be allowed to do it. Now, if that's your philosophy, that's cool, but you're going to get real mad at me. You're gonna be upset at me because I don't subscribe to that. Yes, the children will have desires and goals and all that stuff, aspirations. But as a young child, a young person, they don't fully understand how the world works. And so if the parents is healthy, then they're going to instill healthy principles into that child. And so as long as the principles that you're reinforcing are healthy, even if you think it's over the top, even if you think that is too much, as an uncle and an auntie, it is not your place to determine that or to affirm that with the child. It's your job to listen and then remind the niece and nephew that the parents love them, that the parents care for them, and this is something that you can bring to your parents. Because as an uncle and auntie, are playing that middleman, playing that mediator, if you will, you want to redirect the conversations back to the parents and even give them strategy, skills, and suggestions on how they can talk about these topics to the parent, because you never want to encourage a child to leave certain information about their life in the dark to their parents. Because not only does it make the child feel comfortable keeping secrets from the parent, it also causes the parent to not trust you if they find out. You will be perceived as unsafe if the parent finds out. You will be perceived as dangerous if the parent finds out that you knew something and you didn't say anything. Now, for the parents that are online, tell me if I'm lying. If you knew that the uncle and the auntie knew something about your child and kept it quiet from you, and you had to find out from some other means, you let me know if you would be okay with that, if you would be comfortable with that, if everything would be hunky-dory after you realize, oh, they kept this secret from me, but that's okay because that's uncle and auntie. At least they told somebody. Listen, the devil is a liar. If you know something, you better tell my child to talk to me. You better look, I want you to respect the privacy of my child. Absolutely. But you better give me the 411 somehow. You better let that child know, hey, listen. I understand that you might be a little nervous. You might be a little scared to let your parents know what's going on, but it would be in your best interest that you tell them, because if they find out from someone else, if they find out in other means, it's going to be worse for you. But if you address them directly and you give them the strategy, hey, look, you could even help set it up for them. Say, look, I'm gonna respect your privacy, but let's set up a meeting with your parents. Well, we can have it at my house. We're gonna cook some dinner. We're gonna have some good times, and then we're going to somehow ease this into the conversation so that your parents can be in the known. As an uncle and an auntie, you have to encourage that child to speak to the mom and dad. Absolutely 100%. Unless, of course, the parents are toxic. And let me just be clear, because this is called healthy family dynamics. So I want y'all to just, kind of think cognitively just a little bit. If the parents are dangerous, the parents are unstable, and you know this. They're your brother, they're your sister, but you know that they got some issues going on. Then obviously there might be some things that they can't handle. And once again, as the extension of the parents, you're going to have to step up. So also, as the uncle and the auntie, while you're addressing the child, you also have to be the one to hold the parents accountable. Now, this is where it gets a little messy. This is where it gets a little messy. Because if your relationship with your brother or sister is not 100% positive, then it's going to be a little hard to hold the parents accountable. But you are, and when we get to the sibling portion, we'll kind of deal with how to restore those type of dynamics. But you are the perfect person to speak reason to the parents, because while you love the niece and nephew, you can have a clearer vision of what's going on because you're not so emotionally invested. Now, I'm assuming that as the uncle and the auntie, you've been going to therapy, you've been talking to your pastor, you've been reading, you've been reading books, you've been going to counseling. You've been getting some coaching. I'm assuming that as the uncle and the auntie, you have been doing the self work to be a high functioning adult and healthy adult. That's my assumption. See, and this is why the family dynamics always starts with you doing your part in being the best person that you can be. Because if you're not the best person that you can be, then you cannot fulfill the roles that you occupy in the best way. And so, yeah, for the uncles and aunties that don't have kids, yeah, you don't know what it means to be a parent. That's okay. That doesn't mean that you don't know what it means to be a healthy human being. That doesn't mean that you don't know what it means to go through some stuff. That doesn't mean you don't know how it feels like when a loved one is in a jam. You kind of can resonate with some of those things. And so, yes, you got to do your part in being healthy. That way, when the child is going through something or the parents is going through something, as the uncles and the aunties, you can be the support system that the entire family needs. Uncles and aunties can save marriages. Uncles and aunties can save parental relationships. Uncles and aunties can save sibling rivals. Uncles and aunties are so important. Uncles and aunties should not be looked over as less than or as something that could just be discarded. Though they don't have rights, they have privileges. It is a benefit to have the uncles and aunties in the life of the family because they can speak life in areas where the people are too blind by emotion to really see the truth. Let me know if you resonate with what I'm saying because I'm talking right now. And so we need the uncles and aunties to hold the parents accountable because even though they're children, when the uncles and aunties are listening to the children, there are times where the children will have a valid point. Where the children will bring up, the niece and nephew will bring up something to the uncle and auntie and say, this is what's going on, and this is how my parents are acting, and they're like, they tripping, they crazy. They might have a valid point. And as valid the point is, you want to affirm, you want to validate that their point is valid. Oh, you know what? You bring a good point. That is not trash talking the parents. Hello, parents. Validating that your child is right is not trash talking you. It's not backstabbing the parent. It's not throwing dirt on the parent's name. Validating that the child is right is affirming that the child is growing and is maturing and has the ability to think with reason. So if the child has a point, then yes, uncles and aunties, you validate that. You have, you know what, that's making some sense. I see what you're saying. And then you better segue. With that being said, let's still find a way to communicate this to your parents. Uncles and aunties should not be gatekeepers of secrets. That is not your role. That is not your role. I'm going to just say it plain. I've seen so many families divided and destroyed because uncles and aunties overstepped their boundaries and kept vital information from their parents, from the child's parents. They kept it trying to be cool. They kept it because they wanted their niece and their nephew to like them. And they never considered how without that information, the parent doesn't know the best way to protect their own child. And let me be clear. I want to be clear. Uncles and aunties also have the responsibility of keeping other uncles and aunties in check. Come on. Some of us, we grew up with that one uncle who was doing some things he had no business doing. We grew up with some aunties who had no business doing what they was doing. And when we get wind of it, some of our families swept all of that under the rug. They tried to hide it. They tried to conceal it. They tried to act like it never happened. And all that does is create more division. But worse than that, it keeps the child in danger. And so sometimes when the Uncle Fred, let's just say, hypothetically, hopefully ain't no Freds listening because I ain't coming for you. But if Uncle Fred hears that Uncle Billy is doing something out of pocket, then Uncle Fred is going to have to be the one to address Uncle Billy and say, hey, I know what you're doing and you're out of pocket and it needs to stop. Not only that, if Uncle Billy is doing something just crazy, just straight violation, that Uncle Fred might have to go to Uncle Mark and go to Daddy whoever, and all the uncles address Uncle Billy and say, listen, we about to rectify this tonight. That is a part of being an uncle, because we can't allow our own family to violate the family. Yes, we're blood. Yes, sure. We've known each other for 20 years. But if you're violating someone in the family, then it's the family's responsibility to handle that. And I'm saying this because we got some punk uncles and some punk aunties who's not ready to ride for their own family. They act all scared and nervous. I'll pop one for my kids. I'm trying to tell you something. Listen, I'm trying to tell you something. And to be honest, I'll pop one for my niece and nephews. You don't mess with my family. As the uncle in the family, I'm gonna ride for those who can't protect themselves, and I'm even gonna ride for my brothers and sisters, because we are one unit. And if you mess with one of us, you gotta be prepared to deal with all of us. Yeah, because no one in the family is by themselves. No one in my family is isolated. I'm gonna ride for mine. Listen. And I need uncles to recognize, I hope something clicks in the minds of the uncles to realize, man, yeah, it is my responsibility. Sometimes you got to pull up to the school too. The bully acting crazy to your nephew, your daddy going to show up, but sometimes uncle got to show up too. Say, where he at? We need to have a conversation. Yeah, sometimes auntie needs to take the earrings off and put the Vaseline on the face and show up. Yeah, mama gonna show up. Mama gonna do what mommy does. But sometimes auntie needs to show up too ready. Put the Timberlands on and tie them tight. That's how you know. Listen, look. Y'all might not come from where I come from, but when you see the Vaseline on the face and the Timberlands tied up, oh yeah, you better have them hands ready because it's on and popping. Yeah. It's important that the uncles and aunties recognize that they are now, get this, they are the soldiers of the family. You got to be ready to ride or die. And if that is not your position, if you are not prepared to fill that role, then humbly and respectfully, I would ask that you remove your title as uncle or auntie. If you thought it was good enough to just spoil them, that ain't enough. If you thought it was good enough to just show up at birthday parties, that ain't enough. You thought it was just good enough to have a little bit of fun and do the photo ops and then go back. No, that ain't enough. You got to be prepared to invest some blood, sweat, and tears for the protection of your family. Especially when the parents are tired and overwhelmed. Look, for anybody who's been a parent long enough, you know you have those moments where you're just exhausted. You've been giving your all and you just need a couple more hours of sleep. It's really sad that in 2023 we got to hire babysitters, or we got to depend on daycares, or we got to wait till the children are in school just to get some of the rest that we need. It's sad that our families are not so united that uncles and aunties can step in and say, yeah, I'm going to hold them for a little bit. I'm going to take care of them for a little bit because I need you to freshen up. I need you to refill. I need you to restore. The uncles and the aunties, when they're healthy and when they're available, they are such positive members of the community if they would only understand their roles. So yes, uncles and aunties, you got work to do. All that chilling around doing nothing, that ain't it no more. All of that just looking cute, being the rich uncle and auntie, that's cool. That's cool. Be that, sure. But also make sure that you're really here protecting. Make sure that you're really here mediating, translating, being a positive influence to the family, so that the family as a whole can benefit from your presence. It's not to say like you're useless just because you're not that, but it is to say that that is the roles of healthy relationships. I just read a comment. Hold on, I'm gonna put this up here because it's funny. My boy, he said, "Man, mama girl, knock you out." That's funny to me. That's funny to me. So yeah, listen. Like I told you, I'm not gonna be here long. I'm pretty much done. But I want the uncles and the aunties to really just pay attention. Ask yourself, am I being involved? Let me say this because I feel it in my spirit. Don't be jealous if you're the uncle and the auntie without kids. Don't. I'm saying that I understand that you might feel away. That just means you might need to talk to somebody. Because your value as an adult is not in whether or not you have children. It's not on whether or not you're married. None of that. None of that. It's none of that. Your value as an adult is your presence. And the benefit is in how you participate and contribute to your community. Your presence is valuable enough. I want to be clear. But the benefit of your presence comes in how you show up for your community. And I know we're in an era now where we want to make it okay when people can't show up. And it is okay if they're working on themselves so eventually they can show up. Did you hear what I just said? Yeah. You might have seasons where you can't show up. That's fine. As long as in those seasons you're working on yourself so eventually you can show up. I need a season where you're going to be present. I need a season where you're going to be available. I need a season where you're going to be able. And I use that word need. I need that for the community to function in its optimal level. We need that. Because what's the point of calling you uncle and auntie if you're never going to be available? What's the point? It's just words at that point. And I don't want it to diminish the title of uncle. That's uncle so-and-so. That means I could depend on him. If something happens to me, I got my mom, I got my dad, but I got my uncles, I got my aunties. Grandma and granddad, you should be retired. I don't want y'all fighting out in these streets. y'all need to rest up and save your money for bail money because we're gonna need someone to finance this fight when we're done. Hallelujah. We're gonna need someone that can give up a couple dollars. You know what I mean? So I get up out of jail defending my child. You feel me? So grandma, granddad, don't be ready to scrap. You stay in your little sandals and your robe, right? Let the uncles and aunties handle it. Mommy, daddy gonna handle it. Uncle, auntie gonna handle it. I didn't even get to the cousins who's gonna pull up too. Because we are family. We are a family. Cousins are nothing more than siblings from different mommies and daddies. That's all. Cousins are the siblings from their aunts and uncles. That's all. I don't even got to do a whole series on that. Cousins are the siblings from their aunts and uncles. At least in a healthy family dynamic, that's what it should be. Cousins should feel like brothers and sisters because we growing up together and we have similar values and we understand that we have to protect us. We understand that we have to provide for us. We understand that we if we don't take care of us, ain't nobody else going to take care of us. That's a family as a whole. That is a healthy family. And the uncles and aunties play that role in being the soldiers in the family, the strategists in the family, the mediators in the family. We need the uncles and aunties to do that. Let me say this. Some of y'all gonna get mad at me, but let me say this. Sometimes you need to go to the uncle and auntie before you go to the therapist and the counselor because the uncle and auntie might have been seeing what your spouse is talking about, but couldn't find a way to tell you because marriage is so sacred and they didn't want to seem like they're violating your marital state. But yet when you go and talk to them, they can tell you, oh no, you kind of do be acting like that. Yeah. They could be the one to confirm it. You know, a lot of you, your help is right there in your family. But because of the trauma and the brokenness, you can't even see it. And yeah, I know some of you ain't got it. Yes, please, if you ain't got it, go to a counselor therapy as quick as possible. But I'm talking to those of you where you come from relatively healthy families, But because you feel embarrassed or you feel guilty or you want to avoid the shame, you stay silent about your issues. And because you're staying silent about your issues, your family can't even show up like they would, like they could, because they love you. And maybe I never had a meeting to discuss these things and to say, listen, sometimes I'm gonna need y'all to show up. Listen, when it comes to my brothers know. I need to be able to call you when I need you. Because you can sure call me when you need me. It's mutual. It goes both ways. Nobody's using the other one. We love each other, not to generate problems so we can have. If the foundation of your relationships is contingent on somebody fixing your problem, then that's not a healthy relationship. If the only time y'all talk, I'm not saying you can't talk when you have problems. I'm saying if the only time you guys talk is when you have problems, then that's not a healthy relationship. We should be able to just kick it sometimes. We should be able to have a good time sometimes. We shouldn't always have to put out fires. At some point, we got to ask the question, well, why are you starting so many fires? Like, we got to talk about this thing. Why can't we just hang out? Why is it always one thing after the other? What's going on? Where's the disconnect? How can I help you get reconnected so we can just hang out and love on each other once in a while? Yeah, we all have our days, but it's starting to look like a lifestyle. Why are you having a lifestyle of fires? What's going on? Where's the water at? Where's the peace at? Where's the joy at? Who am I talking to? Somebody needs to hear that. Oh, look. My boy said, what you say, BC? He said, I'm a pyromaniac. I didn't even know you was on the live. It's good to see you, B. Yeah, stop setting up fires. Put those fires out. Put those fires out. Listen, sometimes we should be laughing and kicking and having a good time. Yeah. Life is good sometimes. And we should be able to enjoy that as family. So be the soldiers, uncles, aunties, be the soldiers. Get ready. But even with soldiers, you have soldiers, even when there's peace. You need them available because you never know where it might turn up. All right, I'm going to get off that because some of y'all going to really get mad at me. Because some of you I can't even call because you're so scared. You're so concerned about what somebody else going to do. Listen, you know what we about to do? Huh? All right, y'all see what's coming out. Let me chill, because I really roll like that. Like, listen, I ain't concerned about what they're going to do. I know what we about to do. We about to handle business. That's what we about to do. We about to protect our own. We about to make sure we good. That's what we about to do. Whatever they about to do at the end of the day, we doing what we have to do. I'm not scared of them. I don't care who they are. That's how I roll. My brothers roll like that. My sisters roll like that. We can depend on each other. That's how it's supposed to be. And so my prayer is that hopefully uncles and aunties will get up and do what they have to do. Yo, let me read what Tracy said, my homegirl Tracy. She said, yo, my kids withheld because they know I would have been in that in that orange jumpsuit. That's a fact. That's a fact. Sometimes our kids try to protect us, but I want to let the kids know it's not your job to protect the parent. It's the parent's job to protect you. The parent's job to protect you. I was just watching my nephew today. Look at that. Proud uncle. That's what I'm talking about. Let me put it up there. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. We need uncles and aunties to really be active family members. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm going to make it abundantly clear. The days where just being related makes you family, those days are dead. Just because we're related, that doesn't mean we're family. Family plays their role, period. And if you're not playing your role, then yes, we're related, but I can't call you family. Family shows up for me, and I show up for my family. And the days where you can reap the benefits of my presence without giving me any of yours, those days are done. And I'm encouraging my community to acknowledge family, protect family, stand up for family, and play your role as a family member. And uncles and aunties, Your role is to be ready to ride, to be ready to mediate, to be ready to cover, to help the parents recover. That is your role. You are an extension of the parents. You are helping to supplement where the parents are limited. That is the role of the uncle and the auntie, and I can't make it any more plain. So if you haven't been fulfilling that role, talk to me, man. Let's talk about ways, not on this live. Talk to me out of the live. It's called a consultation. As a matter of fact, if you want a consultation with me, go to www.launchyoufront.com and you're gonna scroll. You're gonna see a one-on-one consultation. You click that button. You can schedule your appointment, and we can have a conversation. Let's talk about what needs to be done for you to fulfill that role. Because family shows up. If you're not showing up, then you're not family. I don't care if we're related. Family shows up. Sometimes we're gonna have to go and spend the night or live with uncle and auntie. Yeah. Sometimes we going through a rough patch. I might have to send you to uncle and auntie for the summer so mommy and daddy could get some things prepared. Yeah, yeah. Uncle and auntie. So grandma and granddad can take a break. Grandma and granddad should show up to just love on the grandkids. Yeah, they're going to reinforce principles. Yeah, grandma and granddad going to do all of that. But grandma and granddad paid their dues. They shouldn't have to be raising the knuckleheads that we brought into this world. Okay? That shouldn't be their role. That shouldn't be their job. Grandma and granddad done already raised their kids, already been a light to the community. Now we should be honoring grandma and granddad as the elders that they are, receiving wisdom, family history. See, that was going to be another experience. I might not have to do that now, right? That's what grandma and granddad is for. It's the uncles and aunties that should be the active, moving participants in the family. And if that bothers you, I want to know why. Why would it bother you that there's an expectation for you to be present and active? Why would that bother you? Have you ever considered maybe you might be a little selfish? That you want to reap the benefits of everybody around you without pouring back into them? It shouldn't bother you that you should be active and present. No, that should be, you should expect to be active and present because you're a part of this family. And we should be teaching the younger generation what it means to be active and present. It shouldn't be a weird thing for them. They should grow up saying, yeah, my uncle be around all the time. My auntie be around all the time. We love each other. We go on vacations. We be hanging out. They be talking on the phone. Like, we are a family. We're going to break these curses, y'all. Who's with me to break these curses? I'm done with the family being destroyed. We're going to make a difference. All right. I got to get out of here. Listen. I love you all. Let's pray. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we just thank you for uncles and aunties. I'm glad that they have a role to play, that they're not just there, they're not just useless, but that they do play a role. I pray that every uncle and auntie is doing their part to heal and to grow so that they may be productive members of the family. I thank you for them. I love them. I'm so grateful that you designed us to have them. So may we be responsible with them. This I ask in the name of the Messiah, we pray. Amen and amen again. Thank y'all for joining me. I love the participation. Once again, if you haven't already, text LSMin to 24251 so that you can join my text group and you can stay updated on the changes and the things that's going on. Also, if you feel led to donate to the ministry, y'all already know what to do. You go to www.launchyoufront.com/ministry. Or you can go to Cash App, $LAWSOU. You can donate there. I have other means where you can donate. Just hit me up, text me, DM me, whatever the case is. I will communicate with you in that regard. Other than that, you are officially dismissed. Peace.